Hello there, thanks a lot for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard. What can you say? Oh my goodness gracious, take a look at this spectacular summer of 1963 original UK super large Beatles concert poster in no fewer than 6 colors. Man, just take a look at this. A complete stone original. They've been bootlegged to the moon. I don't know if this exact one, but you know, smaller repros, big repros, all these after prints and everything. This baby was made before the show to sell tickets. Boy, just amazing. I love the light coloring on this, right? It's almost like it has a pastel nature with the pinks and the reds and the yellows and everything. Just gotta love this. Wow. And this is, of course, the She Loves You Beatles, if you will. The single She Loves You entered the UK charts this very week. And naturally, that's as emblematic of any song in their career of the early Beatles. The media, of course, picking up on yeah, 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 and using that to refer to them for years to come. And of course, their album Please Please Me was #1 all summer long, so it certainly was topping the charts at this time. Now, one of the reasons for such a big, gorgeous Beatles concert poster is it wasn't for just one concert. This was actually advertising 12 shows. Notice it does say the week commencing Monday, August 26th of 1963. And by the way, for you newbies or youngsters out there, this does predate the Ed Sullivan Show appearances by half a year in America. So the location for the show was Southport, England, just 20 miles directly up the road from Liverpool. And one really nice aspect of this, a big bonus, is, yep, there they are, pictures of the Beatles. Wow, now when it comes to UK concert posters, that's not a common sight at all. All of 1961 and 62, all their Liverpool and so forth concert posters had no photo. Even early 63, no pictures of the Fabs. And then finally in the spring of 63, their pictures start appearing, commensurate, of course, with their rise in popularity, naturally. Now, as you can see, it does say there above their pictures and so forth, just love that wording, Britain's fabulous disc stars. And then you have, in floating head fashion they call that, left to right, Ringo, John, Paul, and George. And you know, while we're at it, can't overlook Gerry and the Pacemakers. I mean, chart-wise, they were just as big as the Beatles at this point, if not buzz-wise. I Like It, on the poster, had been #1 this summertime, earlier in the summer I should say, and How Do You Do It was #1 for Gerry and the Pacemakers in the spring. And both bands were from Liverpool and both managed by Brian Epstein. And if you take a look at, there's 4 floating heads for the Pacemakers as well, with head guy Jerry Marsden on the far left. So, you know, at this time the Beatles were, sure, they were white hot with a #1 record and everything, couple #1 singles, but it was pre-Beatlemania, which was a term coined in October by the British press. So there were still lots of marketing and advertising materials needed to ensure sellouts. Here's a picture I have, for example, of the smaller version of the poster for the exact same week of shows. Yeah, this one's a little bit beat up, but again, it's just an image of one, a photo printed out. And it's a window card of sorts, much smaller, but every word is exactly the same. And then even smaller still, here's a paper handbill with a form down at the bottom for, again, the exact same series of shows, but with much more limited coloring, as you can see, just the black and red. And again, down at the bottom, the postal booking form has been filled out. All 3 of these, by the way, do have the credit down at the bottom that says printed by the Electric, parentheses, Modern, Printing Company Limited, Manchester 8, and then, of course, England. So, starting at the top of the poster, again, the wording is the 3 on all 3, but the wording is the same on all 3. It does say Odeon Southport, and the Odeon theater chain was the largest and best-known theater chain in the United Kingdom with hundreds of locations, literally. And then it's kind of quaint and fun. It does give the telephone number and general manager's name. On the poster, I imagine he received a few calls about this week of shows. And then those 2 yellow boxes in the upper left and upper right, it does say on the stage, 1 week only, and twice nightly, 6:25 and 8:40. Kind of odd times. Not sure why they were odd, but that is what it says. And then we've got the date line up there. Again, we're talking about the upper white information, which I have covered, the date line. And then Arthur Howe's Presents, and he was a huge British promoter of pop music package shows back in the day. Now, what's really fun, if you're in, who's not into the music, the Beatles would do, it's documented, they pretty much would do the same show every night, 10 songs. And it really illustrates how pre-Beatlemania this series of shows was, because they do 6 covers. And, you know, they had the current #1 album, and 5 of those covers were from that album. And then they did 4 originals to round things out. The covers were Chains, A Taste of Honey, Boys, Baby It's You, and Twist and Shout, those 5 from the debut album, and they also did Chuck Berry's Roll Over Beethoven, which turned up on With the Beatles a few months later. And then the originals they did were the A and B side of their #1 single, From Me to You, backed with Thank You Girl, and I Saw Her Standing There, and then, of course, the brand new single, She Loves You. Now, I love all that early quaint stuff, covers included, but if I had my way, I would have taken those 10 songs, knocked off a cover, and added another original to balance it out, and that darn original would be Please Please Me. I can't believe they weren't doing that song, the #1 single, you know, from the spring in this series of shows, but I'm sure they had their reasons. So this very week, the Beatles did, besides playing here in Southport, they did participate in a documentary filming that would eventually be called The Mersey Sound, and they, you know, contributed music, interviews, and real-life situations. And snippets and parts of that documentary have turned up over the years in things like their anthology series. Now, as you can see, there's 5 other acts on here, and MC Billy Baxter, and in the lower left-hand corner, the poster was signed by members of the Foremost, and perhaps others. Now, 1 month prior to this, in July, I just want to show you how similar the graphics were, but there was one artist that was different on the posters. So look at this, just 1 month earlier, almost the identical graphics and wording and everything, except it's another Odeon Theater, by the way. It's, you know, sort of a tour blank of sorts, if you will, but down there, the yellow box under Gerry, you do have the glamorous Lana sisters in place of the Foremost. So 1 month, 1 act change down below, and that's all. Well, whoever the opening acts were, it must have been tough sitting through them waiting for the Beatles to come on and do their 10 songs. But boy, what any of us wouldn't have given to go back in time and have been there for the pre-Beatlemania Beatles as represented by this spectacular original concert poster. Wow. Thanks a lot for dropping by. Appreciate your time today. Whatever I'm going to show you next is going to be smaller, less colorful, and less fun. I can almost guarantee it. This is the top of the mountain. I just love this stuff and hope you do too. Have a good day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.